What's poppin', people? I hope you're faring well in this interesting global experience that we're going through. I'm not going to say the keyword, God forbid I get demonetized. But anyway, let's try to forget the current events for like 5 minutes and focus on a budget iPad that I recently picked up. This is the 5th generation 2017 iPad. It's one of Apple's budget-oriented ones, if you will. And it goes for around 170, 175 used on Swappa and eBay. And today I want to see just how good of an iPadOS experience it pushes in 2020. But before we get into testing, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, as the YouTube algorithm likes that, and will help push my content to more people. First up, this iPad is pretty much identical to the 6th and 7th gen iPads. Obviously, this predates those, it's the 5th gen, but it really does resemble the 2013 iPad Air in regard to its chassis thickness. It comes in around 7.5 millimeters thick. It's just over a pound, and we do have an air gap with a display here. And speaking of the display, it's a typical, I guess, iPad resolution, 2048 by 1536. Something notable is that it does not have True Tone because this is a budget iPad, and the 6th and 7th gen iPad lack this sort of premium feature as well, so the display is going to look a bit bluer and won't adjust to the color temperature of your room. But regardless, it is bright and colorful and great for media consumption, great for working too. You have a decent amount of space on this 9.7 inch canvas, and this display is locked at 60 Hz just like the newer generation budget iPads. We also got dual down firing speakers here just like the newer iPads, and we'll do a quick little sound test just to see how good they sound as of right now. So yeah, not half bad here. I think that the newer generation budget iPads might sound a little bit better, but for what you're paying for here, you should not be disappointed when you're listening to music or watching a movie or just using this device without headphones in. And diving into the internals or the specs of this device, this iPad is packing a dual-core Apple A9 processor and 2 gigs of RAM just like the iPhone 6s. And with that said, let's launch a quick benchmark to get an idea of how this device performs. And here we have the single core and multi-core scores, and this is by no means a modern processor. Let's look at how it compares to newer processors. So yeah, single core scores are pretty much doubled with the A12X with the iPad Pro, and of course multi-core scores are about a fourth of the best iPad processor as of right now. But does that mean this device can't push a decent everyday experience? And I answer that with a big fat no. iPadOS is very nicely optimized for this device. Animations are very smooth with this. Apps open very quickly as well. This device is by no means blazingly fast like the new iPad Pros and iPads, but you're not going to be like tapping your fingers waiting for a particular app to open up. And even with the older hardware, you can still do split screen multitasking here like a boss. With the 2 gigabytes of RAM as well, it's a very smooth and responsive experience. But one thing that kind of sucks about this device is its lack of Apple Pencil 1st generation support like the 6th gen and the 7th gen and literally every other newer iPad besides this one. So you're going to be stuck with writing with your fingers or with a rubber tipped, like standard stylus. And let's do a quick gaming test here. Although this is not a really intensive game, I'm curious to see just how well it runs with this older hardware. So let's create a creative world and just render it out and see how fast that takes. Okay, here we go. So this Minecraft world took around 10 to 15 seconds to load in, and as you can see, we're getting really smooth frame rates here. And believe it or not, when you do have a poor performing processor here, you do get drop frames in Minecraft. For example, if I was running this on my iPod Touch 4th generation, it would be a lag storm, although it does have a single core processor. But yeah, with this device, it's running beautifully, very smoothly. This iPad should be very well suited for 2D titles and light 3D titles like this. And if this iPad is intended for somebody like my grandma who wants to play Scrabble, or a little kid who wants to play Fortnite and Minecraft and COD Mobile, this device should run those games just fine as well, especially for people who aren't super concerned about amazing frame rates. And I'll quickly mention here we have a VGA quality front-facing camera and an 8 megapixel back-facing camera, good enough for FaceTime and video chatting and just, stupid pictures of documents and just boring stuff. I would not recommend being an iPad photographer or videographer with this device, although it'll probably do the trick. So with all this said, who is this iPad for? Well, I'd say it's for somebody who doesn't want to spend $250 to $300 on a 7th gen iPad or a 6th gen iPad. This device, once again, can run everyday tasks and do multitasking just fine, even with its older hardware and 2 gigs of RAM. And like I just demonstrated, this device can run light 3D and 2D titles like a champ. So if you want to do some light gaming with this device, it should be very well suited for that. So really, I'd say this is a device for, once again, a little kid, your grandma, your grandpa, your parent, somebody who isn't too tech savvy and does it require all the bells and whistles of the newer generation iPads, even the 6th generation and 7th generation iPads. And the best part is you can buy this device for around $175 on like Swappa or eBay. So overall, great budget iPad. If you don't need the Apple Pencil, once again, I would highly recommend picking this up even over the 6th generation iPad, because as we have just witnessed, even the Apple A9 can push a really smooth iPadOS experience in 2020. And that about wraps things up here. I hope this video was helpful if you're looking for a budget-oriented iPad to use when you're sitting at home avoiding you-know-what. I'm joking. We should be fine. Just wash your hands and don't buy all the toilet paper ever. I'd really appreciate it, once again, if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.